Today's Friday, and this is a postscript to this what I thought would be the last video in Mauritania. I just left Nouakchott, about an hour away, right in between Nouakchott and the Senegalese border. So if you haven't guessed yet, Senegal is going to be the next stop, the third stop for Nonstop Nikhil. So what happened yesterday, I arrived pretty late from Tijikja to the capital. I went straight to Abdou's place. Abdou is the guy who I met on the flight from Tunis to Nouakchott. He graciously hosted me last night, spent the night, and then had an early morning when he set me up with a car that was traveling straight to Dakar, crossing the border in Tiama, and could drop me off in Saint Louis. I, like everybody else, has been hearing how terrible the Rosso border is, so I've been insisting on taking the Gemma border. And it seems like that's where we're going today, so we're just going to keep going, and then I'll give you a report on how the border goes. Probably won't be able to film much there, but it's actually my first overland border crossing in a long time, or probably maybe even ever. Definitely the first one in Africa. So I'm interested to see how that goes. And then hopefully see you all in Senegal, and this will be the start of the Senegalese series of Nonstop Nikhil. While I'm having my Mauritanian tea, I'm remembering that I'm still in Mauritania, and I'm adding a postscript to this video to add that there are two things that people always remember when they think about Mauritania. They're the two most commonly covered subjects about Mauritania. Every documentary, every article you'll find on the internet covers these two subjects. I'm sure you already know what they are. One is slavery, the second is bleu, or forced feeding of women. I purposefully tried not to cover those two subjects during my videos because those are really the only two things I knew about Mauritania before I came to Mauritania. So I wanted to make the image of Mauritania more complex, show you other dimensions, because I know whenever you Google the country, whatever you find, we'll be covering those two subjects. So you might as well see another aspect of the country. Not to say that those things don't exist, not to say that there aren't struggles here, not to say that there isn't a terrible human rights record here, but, you know, that's not exactly what I can cover within just a week of being in a country. Or at least I can't do justice to that topic in just a week of being in that country. Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Nonstop Nikhil, and not only to a new episode, but a new country. This is the third series, the third country that we're covering on this journey. And right now, I just crossed the border from Mauritania, and I'm in Saint Louis, or Ndar, as it's known in the local Wolof language. Saint Louis is the French given name. And I'm outside of my comfort zone just because I'm outside of the Arab sphere right now. So I'm sticking to French, and then everyone else is speaking mostly Wolof here. And so we're crossing the bridge from where I'm staying, which is the more local, non-touristy part of town. I'm staying at a family-run guest house there, and right now we're crossing this bridge to the island, which is the center of the French-settled colonial town of Saint Louis, which is also fully a UNESCO World Heritage Site. I somehow broke my power converter when I was in Tijikja, and I realized I have to buy a new one, so I was roaming around the marketplace trying to find a shop that would sell me one of those. Still haven't stepped into a supermarket to get something to drink, and I picked up the usual, water, or like sparkling water, something like that. Then one of the store attendants came up to me and was like, "Oh, have you seen this section of drinks?" and pointed to this whole section full of rainbow-colored, locally made drinks from Senegal. And it was like, "Which one do you want?" And I was like, "I don't know any of the flavors," but they all looked like very neon-colored. So I asked him which one his favorite was, and he was like, "You should try Dakar." And so I got the one that says Dakar. I don't really know what flavor it is, but it tastes really good. It tastes almost like a celery juice with lemon juice and sugar in it. But I'll have to let you know exactly what Dakar means. As I'm walking around, it almost seems like people are staring at my Dakar, as if this person knows what's up, or almost a jealousy that I'm drinking the Dakar. So it's bringing me some respect on the streets of Senegal. Saint Louis, or Ndar, is my first stop outside of Arabic-speaking Africa. But I've got to say, it feels very familiar, especially if you think of those colonial cities set up in the Caribbean or even in the US to sustain their plantation projects, such as Cartagena in Colombia, New Orleans in the US, the Dominican Republic, Santo Domingo. It reminds me of all of these kind of cities and the way that they're set up, heavily concentrated in one area, bringing their European architecture standards to a foreign part of the world, and then condensing, concentrating it down into one small area that can feel like home for those Europeans. And if you haven't guessed it, we've gotten to the part of my series where I'm not even going to act like I know more than I do about the places we're visiting, because I don't. And anything and everything that I'm probably going to tell you is going to be from Wikipedia anyway. So I'm citing my source. On the positive note, this might inspire you to do some of your own research. For the places I'm visiting, don't take my word for anything. I could at least help piece things together, help you understand a little bit more of what we're looking at, and put things into context when I was in the Arab world. But sub-Saharan Africa is a whole new world for me. So the videos are going to look more at my own impressions, comparing and contrasting places that I've been to before, rather than really digging deep into any place where I'm currently am. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a Saturday here in Saint Louis, or in Ndar, Senegal. So yesterday you saw me walking down the same bridge from the new city into the colonial city, and quite honestly, after lunch I didn't do much. I was pretty exhausted. I got in the afternoon, and as you know, the afternoon is not the best time to be walking around, and so I felt pretty tired. It's been a lot of travel around Mauritania the past couple of days, and so I just took some rest yesterday, just went back, laid down, took a nap until about 7:30 in the evening, and then went out, got some dinner, something pretty simple, just on the side of the road, paid about $1.50 for it, and figured I would spend my Saturday exploring when I can make the best use of the cooler temperatures in the morning, and then save some energy for the evening as well. The weather here in St. Louis is still pretty hot. Yesterday was about 96 degrees at its peak, with a bit higher humidity than you were finding in the desert in Mauritania. This morning I had breakfast at my guest house, some coffee and instant Nescafe with some baguette and chocolate, cheese bread, and spoke with a woman who's also staying at the guest house from Dakar. She's here working on with an international organization, so it was really nice just to learn a little bit more about Senegal, since I told you I'm coming in blind to this country. And then after that I had to go find a place to wash some of my clothes. It's been 2 weeks of traveling, so it was time for sure. Found a little spot. You had to enter through a house, walk through an alleyway past a couple doors, and then they would count your clothes and tell you how much you owe. For about 14 articles of clothing, I paid about 3,000 sefa, which is about $5. And then they said that they would call me later in the evening when the clothes are ready. So that's for washing and ironing. As I was trying to explain yesterday, St. Louis consists of various parts. There's a smaller neighborhood which is connected right to the African mainland. And then we have the new but less touristy side of St. Louis where I'm staying, which is also an island in and of itself. And then we have the island of Ndar, which is where we are right now, and this is where the colonial constructions were all concentrated, and this is where we have the UNESCO World Heritage Site. And then if you cross another bridge, you'll get to the marshy part of the city, which is the beachfront, and that area is also pretty well constructed. So hopefully we'll do another stroll through the colonial area right here, and then we'll cross the bridge again all the way to the beach and see how that area looks. Unlike other similar tourist destinations, St. Louis really is a mixed use space. You can tell it's very functional. It's mostly still just people living here, and there's only a block or two, a couple businesses dedicated to tourists. A lot of the typical tourist souvenir shops, 1 or 2 restaurants, a couple art galleries, and there's a coffee shop as well that looks very nice. Might check that out a little later. Other than that, there are the typical mosques, boulangerie or bakeries, small salons, grocery stores, the typical businesses that you might find in any neighborhood. We're hitting the couple blocks here which contain more of the businesses catering to tourists. And so there's a coffee shop here, a bank, a couple of restaurants, cafes. Maybe I'll go head in for a coffee right now. I'm here at the Ndar Music and Cafe. This is a cafe shop like you might expect to find at home in Seattle or anywhere else. There's a record store here selling CDs and other records of local music. We have coffee, a bunch of places for people to sit and lounge. Right now, it seems like I'm the only tourist, and then there's maybe some upper class Senegalese here. But overall, a very chill spot if you're in Saint Louis and want to take a break from the sun or from walking around, just want to lounge for a little bit. I just ordered an iced latte, and it costs almost like $4 or $5, so it's definitely a tourist spot, but highly recommended so far. There are some times when you cross an international land border that you go to the new country and things just completely change. I felt that when I was crossing, for example, between Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. Kazakhstan has a lot of oil wealth, Kyrgyzstan doesn't, and you immediately feel like the bleak grayness when you cross the border. I didn't feel much of that when crossing between Mauritania and Senegal, but the one thing that you do notice here in Senegal is there's at least more diversity in how people present themselves. Mauritania is very traditional. You see most of the men wearing their dara, and you see most of the women fully covered in the medhefa. But here you can find everything. You can find men wearing more Western style clothing or wearing the same dara in their traditional clothes. And you can see women dressed completely as if they were in a Western country, or fully covered in a medhefa, or any degree in the middle. So that kind of diversity is new and great, good to see. We've just got to the photography museum, which is one of the main sites we've got to check out here in St. Louis. You might be wondering why there's a photography museum here in St. Louis of all places. So I was reading some of the plaques here, and it says that this museum was actually founded by a Senegalese businessman, Amadou Diaw, who hails from St. Louis. And so he wanted to preserve this history, this heritage of photography, which actually started here in St. Louis. St. Louis was where one of the first cameras was sent to West Africa by a French minister of sea and colonies. And so this museum became an effort to preserve that heritage of photography. On the first floor of this museum, you find a piece of the private collection of the businessman Amadou Diaw. All these photos were taken between the 1930s and 1950s in order to showcase that Senegalese photography was not only focused on the technical aspects of photography, but also on the storytelling. And this is storytelling which is a common part of the history of West Africa. We have to contextualize all these portraits here by the fact that they were all taken during the period of French colonialization. But at the same time, it's so incredible how many different types of faces there are in terms of whether people are fully dressed in a Western aesthetic or completely traditional. You can see it all, everything between the urban and the rural. It really provides a multi-dimensional image of Senegal during this early to mid 20th century. What I didn't realize is that the photography museum is actually made up of 7 different locations, and you can gain entrance into all 7 locations with the same ticket. Well, the one ticket is 2,000 sefa, and it looks like each of the museum's locations has a different theme. So I just walked into this building, and this building is focused completely on the struggle for independence and the first Senegalese government. In this timeline, you get a sense of just how recently the West African states gained their independence from France. The year of independence is 1960. That's only 60 years ago. In 1959, Charles de Gaulle visited St. Louis, urging the West African states to stay united and part of the community with France. So all the homes in this colonial area tend to fit the same mold. You have balconies made out of wood which look over the streets, where on the ground floor there would be shops and the like. And then when you go inside, there's usually a staircase which descends down to a courtyard. And the courtyard is really helpful because it allows for the passage of fresh air, where people are doing like household work, and that all happens outside in the courtyard. Whereas when you take the stairs upstairs, you have a floor which opens up to the different bedrooms and serves as a central meeting ground. Traditionally, these homes would be made out of wood, and that's a lot of what you see here with the older buildings in St. Louis, whereas the newer constructions are all made out of cement. The sun is coming down strong. It's almost noon here. Just so I don't tire myself out, I did pick up a bottle of water. It's 1.5 liter, cost 400 sefa. That's about 75 cents. So the Colonial Island on this side is pretty quiet, but as you can see behind me, there's a bunch of fishing boats. And if you cross the bridge to that side, which is the last island next to the sea, there's a bunch of fishing activity, fishing markets going on, a bunch of fishing boats. There are women on the side preparing fish right by the dock. So I think we'll keep walking up. I see the bridge right in front of me. We'll cross the bridge and then go to that side and see what the fishing market looks like. Sure, you can already tell that this neighborhood is a lot different from the Colonial neighborhood. It's a lot more of a typical modern Senegalese neighborhood. You got sand, so you're definitely close to the water. Animals everywhere. A lot of people around. But it's really nice. A lot of activity going on here. People, I'm sure most of the people who live around here are fishermen. And I'm just getting out to the water at the moment. Lots of goats and people and fish. But look at what it opens up to. One of the main benefits of being down here is that you've got the breeze from the ocean to at least lighten the heat a little bit. It's a bit more comfortable out here. You see a lot of fishing boats, fishing men, their families, goats, as always. And there's a whole economy working down here. A lot of the fishermen that you see here, their boats, the fishing culture looks just like the fishing culture that we saw in Nouakchott. And that's because a lot of the Senegalese fishermen do go up to Nouakchott because the cost of living is just a bit more expensive here than it is in Mauritania. It's 12:30 p.m. I'm leaving the fishing port, heading back to the Colonial City. I think when it's time for lunch. I also on the way was able to add 10 gigabytes to my SIM card, and I paid 2,500 sefa for that, so that's about $4.50. So let's see what we can find for lunch. So for lunch, I'm here at Chez Dassault. It's a restaurant right in the colonial heart of St. Louis, Ndar, and we're gonna have a completely authentically Senegalese meal today. So I've ordered the bissap rouge, which is a drink made out of hibiscus syrup, very similar to the agua de Jamaica you might get in Latin America. So starting off with that, and then I'll show you what we're gonna eat for lunch. So here we've got our food. I ordered the chew with fish. So you've got like a full grilled fish here, a tomato sauce that's flavored with the Jamaica, with the bissap or the hibiscus leaves, and some roasted vegetables here. And this is all served with a bowl of rice. So you can mix the rice with the sauce and create a dish for yourself. As we saw before, there's a bunch of fishing going on here, so I have no doubt that this fish is fresh. And let's enjoy our lunch. I'm back at the marketplace in the new city, and it's getting to about the hottest part of the day, so I figured I would come back here, be closer to my guest house, and then be able to get some rest, edit some videos, And the good thing is that I am pretty much able to find my way from the market and the bridge back to my guest house with only looking at my phone once. The downside is that I'm leaving St. Louis tomorrow, so all that knowledge that I've tried to gain over the past 24 hours will soon be utterly useless, and I'll have to learn how to navigate my way around Dakar, a new city, all over again. Oh, the joys of travel. The sun is about to go down. It's around 6:15 p.m. right now. I'm crossing the bridge from the new city to the colonial town again. I'm sure you're all so familiar with this bridge right now. So you can see like the activity of the marketplace before you get on the bridge, and then in the neighborhoods, all the children are out playing soccer. The women and men are sort of gathered at their front porches, some playing like backgammon or some game like that, and people just sitting around and chatting. It's a really great atmosphere in the evenings once the weather gets a little cooler. I'm heading to a waterfront cafe, restaurant, bar sort of area called Flamingo to meet up with a friend who's local to St. Louis, Ndar, and we'll see what that's like. That's going to be a completely different scene from Mauritania. I mean, Mauritania is a completely dry country. Can't find any alcohol anywhere. Here I have been seeing people ordering beers, even though it's the majority Muslim area of Senegal. So it's nice that, you know, it's relatively secular in terms of its consumption policies. Hello everyone, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at St. Louis yesterday, or Ndar as it's known in the Wolof language. So last evening I didn't really do much. All I did was really have a drink down by the pool, and then I had dinner back at La Linguère, the place that I went to on my first day here in St. Louis. I had a dish of some chicken with couscous, and then on my way back to my Airbnb I went to pick up my laundry, got it all done. It's great to have fresh, clean clothes again. So I'll have to set up a cadence for getting that done for the rest of my trip. And now this morning I just took it slow. I went to the Gare Routière, or road station, and I'm now in maybe a 15-seater minibus headed to Dakar, the capital of Senegal. So I'm going to end the vlog here. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you enjoyed this introduction to Senegal. And then tomorrow we'll see you in Dakar.